on the previous episode of Talk That Talk.
I'm not a university instructor, so from a high school, K-12 type of environment. No, I think it's more sensitivity, it's more understanding, it's more patience. Um, every day we're talking about SEL, like we were talking about social emotional learning and trying to find different ways to tap into other parts of the student. So no, absolutely not. It hasn't been a loss of respect for students. I think that when it comes to the SWAC, the SWAC commonly, I mean, going to school in a MEAC school, commonly the SWAC would joke us like about how, soft and candy coated, the MEAC was, and how our culture of band was like not real culture of band, and how it's in the SWAC it's aggressive and everything goes hard and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's the culture of it from what my understanding is. So none of that stuff that they did at the game was really that surprising. I mean, it wasn't at PV and Southern that was like literally fighting on the field. And what year was that? In the 80s or 90s, something like that?
98.
That was 98, bro. That was
yeah, like
90s.
I mean, yeah, they just straight up scrapping, like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm only saying that just because it's like this, none of that stuff is that much of a surprise to me. You almost had the Jackson and Southern Tuba players about to come to blows down in Atlanta after neither one, I don't even know if either band was involved. It was like some random event they were down there. Like, but I'm saying it's a continuation of, like, to me, SWAC culture that I hear so much about. I'm not from the SWAC. I know a bunch of people, but I'm not from the SWAC. So all I can do is, be an outsider observer of it. Everybody else on the call, you guys all have a SWAC experience. So you tell me. I mean, from a MEAX point of view, it's definitely not a loss of respect for the students, for real. Because, I mean, you talk about, like, I think about, like, Norfolk, these kids, when we were in school, we practiced, mad late. Now they end practice at 9 o'clock, no matter what. I don't care what's going on. At 9 o'clock is over. You know what I mean? You go down to some SWAC schools at 1 o'clock in the morning, they still rehearsing. They out on the field. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. I mean, that should be that's a disrespect to students. But as far as that culture of intensity and that long hours stuff that we talked about, putting in these long hours, working harder, not smarter type of attitude, if you don't go at this hard, this level of hard, and you don't, you didn't earn it and all that type of stuff. I think that mindset is deeply rooted in some other stuff that I don't even know if it's necessary to get into it. I think we understand that, but that rooted idea of, if you didn't do it, if you don't do what I did, then you don't go as hard, or you're not as respected. And so that's a part of some type of like microculture. I think that's kind of magnified itself onto the larger scale. And in other places, I don't think it may be as at that same way. So that's my viewpoint.
All right. Quan, have we lost our respect for the students?
I don't think we lost respect for the students. And I think, to Mario's point, everything that we say, we're striving to be more sensitive and aware about the students' needs, mental health, and all of those specific things. But I'm gonna take a different perspective, and this is no pun, but this is just facts. You got to look at what are the schools that are being disrespectful. Maybe they have a disrespectful culture at that particular university. Like no lie, like for years when the great Dr. Griggs was over Southern, as soon as like the bands was like marching in, they was blowing on the band. Would that be considered disrespectful? Or remember a few years past when I forgot who was on the field, but Talladega was in the stands. I think that was Queen City or something like that. They literally was about to start marching, and then they started playing while they're lining up on the field, about to start their show. I think the drum major was about to do their entrance. Isn't that disrespectful? Like, and I think Miles, returned the favor to Talladega. I've seen schools march on the field. I think it was Alabama State marched on the field one year with Tuskegee, was still doing that dance routine. So if you look at all of those things, I don't think we're disrespecting the students, but you have to ask yourself, is that university, do they have a culture of being disrespectful? And you have to pinpoint those isolated events. Also, Mario, I think coming from the SWAC, we did look at the MEAC as a quote unquote more friendly, but I look at it now as I'm older and more mature. It was a better sense of bandsmanship and sportsmanship.